Hey guys, so today I want to talk about a couple things. For one, I want to talk about my idea to use this as a server. This is actually a Pine 64 Rock 64 board. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, what can make it a great option for running a reliable server. For example, of course, we have HDMI out, we have gigabit Ethernet, and anytime you set up a network or a device on that network, you want to make sure you're using at least Cat 5e or faster. So if you use Cat 6, that's also a good choice, but you don't want to use something under that. So just Cat 5 and lower, that's going to limit your speed and essentially slow down the rest of your network. So if you're setting up a router and you're making a choice on a new Ethernet cord to power the router itself, so if you have an ISP router and you're hooking that to a new router that you're going to use as a Wi-Fi access point or something like that, you want to ensure you have at least a Cat 5e rated or better Ethernet cable, because what happens there is you're going to be slowed down. You're only as fast as the weakest link in your network. So if there's a middle part, say the Ethernet cord, that is limited to a lower speed, that you will not be able to achieve a higher speed on any device on the other side of that Ethernet cable. And so if you have something like gigabit Ethernet like this Rock 64 has, you want to ensure you're choosing at least a Cat 5e rated cable. And if you're not, you're only going to limit and not take advantage of that gigabit Ethernet. Another nice thing about this Rock 64 board we have is, of course, you can use various types of modules. So if you have ESP32s or other types of microcontrollers, you want to use that for things like surveillance and security, something I do at home. For example, I have one ESP32 that I run as a sniffer, and that's so I can capture all of the network device identifiers of anyone who's captured on my motion detection camera. And that way, if there's something like a burglar or something, I can still identify that person, and I could even track them down using various sniffer setups to find their location using signal trilateration or even just basic signal reading. So that's one use for GPIO pins. You can use all kinds of modules and create all kinds of different sensors that can enhance your security or just even your network monitoring. And we also have USB 2.0 here, USB 2.0 again. What signifies this is actually USB 3.0, and that is signified by the blue strip right here. So when you see that, you know you have USB 3.0. Now, what's the benefit there? Well, USB 2.0 is going to be heavily limited. So your transfer rate is going to be very limited. So if you're working on anything that needs streaming video, you may want to have something like USB 3.0. So that's another benefit, is your access to USB 3.0. You also have, of course, a headphone jack. You have HDMI out, so you can place it on a television or another type of monitor. You have a barrel jack here. Now this barrel jack, what's cool about the barrel jack is it is a more sturdy power source. So unlike USB-C, micro USB, those types of things can break and bend very easily. Now the barrel jack, on the other hand, is going to be a more reliable long-term power source. So that's another nice thing about the Rock 64. And what makes it a really nice idea for a server? Well, what does that is we have, instead of just the micro SD cards, which is a unreliable form of storage that can basically die anytime on you, you have a more reliable flash eMMC right here. And in fact, this is removable, so I can simply peel it off, and we have the eMMC storage chip here. And with this, I can actually flash it by a couple different methods. So if I want to boot to this, I'll need to possibly short out some pins over here, or there's actually a module from the Pine 64 website where you can actually attach this eMMC in and then plug it by USB. And when you do that, you'll have the ability to flash directly to the eMMC chip, and then you can then place it back on your board. So great option, considering some of Pine64 stuff does have the eMMC module placement. Now, not all boards have this. I don't think that any of the Pis have it. Many other boards do not have the ability to add an eMMC, and that's an easy way to add the extended space. So unlike with Pi, you might need an SSD board to get an SSD. You could just use the eMMC for something with server applications. And so that's my plan. I might make it a series. I'm considering making a series on this to just show something you could do with a single board computer, and maybe go over how I did it so that it can help someone else out in the future. So that's my plan with this. I'm going to do some kind of server setup. I even thought of making possibly even a honeypot setup. So to turn this into a honeypot. So what's cool about honeypots, now I wasn't going to talk about this idea because I didn't want to have other channels steal my idea, but I thought of turning this into a honeypot, and it's still something I'm considering, where I can turn it into a honeypot. And what that does is, even if you secure your network optimally, it's good to have something like a honeypot, because in worst case scenarios, at least you'll be able to detect some of that activity on your network if somehow, some way, you had a backdoor device or something else that would create probing on the network. And having a honeypot, what that does is that sets up a device that is meant to be compromised, and by allowing that device to be compromised, you're able to monitor the attackers in real time, and then you can see what else they're probing for. You can also make connections to what that attacker is originating at, what their connections are, just based on the activity and the trail that they leave. So that's one idea for this. I also have other ideas to do something like maybe a darknet server of some type for the public, something, possibly even a blog hosted on Tor and I2P. Thought about doing that. I know Tor is blocked from the bmc.link, unfortunately. This happened after I created the blog, but what am I going to do now? When the channel grows bigger, I definitely want to have a dedicated website that's accessible from anywhere, but until it grows, I'll probably continue working on the bmc.link just because of the easy management considering the viewership. So make sure to share this video, because as much as this grows is how much work I'm going to put into continuing to improve everything and dedicate more time. I already have spent thousands of hours on the channel with 200 something videos. And I look forward to sharing new things with you guys. So make sure to share the video, leave a comment. What do you think I should do with it? I'd like to know what you think. Of course, I can't use everyone's ideas, but I do have some ideas, and I'd love to hear your input on this. So make sure to leave a comment, share it, and of course, like the video. It's really important to help the channel by just simply liking the video. Helps to increase the viewership, helps get it more recommended. So thanks so much, and I will see you in a video soon.